Tell the people where we're going.
Well, this morning we're traveling to Orlando. Gonna be sitting on a panel. Our very own Jay. They're gonna be the moderator for the panel. And we are gathering with other community organizers and executive directors and community leaders in Florida, where we are trying to strategize and create and push the boundaries of the nonprofit sector within the LGBTQ+IA, especially the trans community.
When you say that, what do you mean? How do you plan to do that specifically?
I have no plans. To be honest, this is year 6. Yeah. Been 6 years doing nonprofit work, right? This will be 3 years. Yeah. With the tea houses. And I think that it's been such an uphill battle trying to get people to, first of all, see capital T, to see what we're trying to do, how we're trying to accomplish, and provide housing for trans individuals. And it's been a testy road, trying to be seen, collaborate with other organizations without people being jealous or, thinking that you're doing too much, doing too little. Like, my God, it gets tiresome. So I am going to this event today, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little tired of playing these games with the optics of what things should look like instead of people just doing what needs to be done. And I have to admit, I would say I've gotten, from back in the day when I first started doing advocacy and community work, which since I've been boots on the ground since I got to Tallahassee, I feel so far removed a little bit. Up until recently, because I've been trying to show optics, right? And trying to showcase the house and trying to showcase what we're doing to people so they can buy into the program. But child, really, it's just, I feel like it's just a cat and mouse game of trying to get funds and who's doing the best, who's doing this, who's doing that. And I'm kind of sick of it, because I am just so sick of the politics. And it shouldn't be about politics when you're doing community work, or you're doing work for community or advocacy. It should just be about the passion. I think that's what drives me the most, because it holds very near and dear to me. I moved to Tallahassee to start my transition, okay? From South Florida, I just wanted to get away, and I was on a city bus, and there was this trans woman that got on the bus. The bus was packed, I'll never forget it. And she got on the bus, and everybody started snickering, even the bus driver. And I was really, really upset. She was so upset that she got off the bus. I was just really moved by that. I was just really upset on my way to work, right? And I'm getting ready to start my transition, and I don't have a vehicle in this new town. And I'm thinking to myself, excuse my French, bitch, I'm gonna have to really bring it when I get on this damn bus, because I'm thinking to myself, yeah, because this town is new, it's the Bible Belt, and I saw this same person maybe a couple of years later. I got started in advocacy work, community work, and I saw them at one of the shelters. And I told her that I remembered them on that bus, because it kind of changed my whole outlook on advocacy. And I asked them, because they were not presenting anymore, and I asked them, how are they feeling, and why weren't they presenting? I just wanted to ask. And they told me that they didn't feel safe. They were in a homeless shelter, they didn't have housing, and they did not feel safe in the shelter. And I was troubled by that. And I always knew that housing disparities were very prevalent, especially within our community, right? But I was like, dang, you know, I'm sitting in these spaces, in these rooms and things like that. What can I do? I'm living in the hood myself. You know, what can I do as a person coming up in the community to make a difference, make a change? I sit on the Mayor's Council in Tallahassee, Florida, and I've asked people of eminence and people in places to, how can we get things started? How can we start, how can we get the funds to start a housing project for our community? I'm like, y'all got the money, so let's just do it, Like Camille said, just do it, right? I remember I got my first piece of funding. It was $20,000. And no business plan, no nothing. I'm like, we're gonna open up a house. I met with a realtor. I found someone that had the same values, and I was explaining to them what I was trying to do. And they met me where I was. My credit was terrible. And I'm like, how am I gonna get this housing? What are we gonna do? And I'm like, you know what? We just gonna do it. I used that $20,000 like as if I had like $1 million. I furnished the house, sickening, and I'm like, you know what? I want this place to feel like home. How can I motivate and build up our trans youth, our trans women of color especially, so that way that person that was sitting on that bus, when they get on the bus the next time, that they feel sickening, that they feel empowered. Because I think when you're having home disparities, you can't even think about the first things first. When you're houseless, that kind of propelled me into action.
How do you find Capital T?
Well, child, to be real, I've been with Capital T from the beginning. Before it was even a house. I'm really a OG baby for real. Like Mama said, I came out of her cooter, so yes. Well, from the beginning, before I met Mama, I was going through a lot with my family, and from getting kicked out, going to the psych ward, being in a homeless shelter, being embarrassed in front of the whole neighborhood, walking the streets of Tallahassee. Mama / Capital T swooped me up and took me under her wing, and ever since then, life's great, pussy still good. I've been transitioning for 7 years now. Somewhere around there. Like, she was the first one that helped me sign my papers. She was the one that gave me my first sports bra. So technically, she saved me technically, because I wouldn't even know where I would be, to be real, if it wasn't for that lady. And she was the first one that told me I was gonna be a bad bitch too, so, but we ain't gonna speak on it.
The way that I heard about Capital T is I have worked with Janel for years, and the first few years that I worked with Janel, she was telling me about the vision for Capital T, and I ended up leaving through COVID because I couldn't find any work. But once I came back, we reconnected, and Capital T had came up, and it's actually alive and thriving. So my main thing was, all right, so it's here. What can I do to help? With Capital T, I facilitate the trans mask meetings. So basically it is a gathering of trans mask individuals. We come through, we pretty much talk about our lived experiences, things that we're going through. We talk about different topics, whether it be politics or just things how are your relationships? It's not just we try not to make it super somber. Granted, we are in Florida. Florida is going to do what Florida do. But we try to, create a space where people feel safe enough to have these conversations.
Hi, my name is Jay Douglas. I'm 22 years old, and I'm originally from Orlando, Florida. And now I'm in Tallahassee, all thanks to Capital T. I think Capital T found me, and I was really lucky. I was in an emergency situation, and I was posting on TikTok basically begging for anybody to see me, hear me, and believe me. And capital T, they were about 250 miles away, and they drove into rural Florida and saved me. So they found me. I think before capital T was involved with me, the world made me feel crazy. Like all of my feelings were completely made up, and no matter who I told, no one would believe that I really felt this way. And capital T really helped me see that I'm not an anomaly. I'm not a creature. I'm a person, and I deserve to be heard, respected, and loved.
I think maybe around 12 or 13, I met Janel at CCYS. She worked right across the street from CCYS. Miss Regina that worked at CCYS, she walked me up there and introduced me to Miss Janel. We just got really close, and it's just been like a mother figure to me ever since. Kind of just like a big relief, meeting somebody that's been through a lot of the same things as me, that has years and plenty of knowledge on a lot of things that I've been through. I was always in and out of the foster care system. From 2 years old, my mom had went to prison. And I stayed with some relatives, and then at like 8 I went back with mom, and at 10 I went back into the foster care system. So from 10 to 18 I was in foster care.
I was referred by someone in the local community, gay community here, and I got on Facebook and started speaking with Janel, and went from there. It was interesting because she always talks about how I had the long eyelashes out here to here and the rainbow makeup, and it was a bit much. I was just trying to express myself because I've always felt like a woman, but I needed guidance, and Janel helped me with that. Well, my journey with capital T was very rocky in the beginning. I was having nightmares, and that came from a lot of trauma, and I was able to stay here and get a peace of mind to heal, like I said. Just being here in the house with the other girls who have experienced some of the same things, it's one thing to experience transitioning by yourself alone, but then it's another thing to be able to interact with others who are going through the same thing, and you're able to talk and to maneuver through some of the things that we have to put up with or deal with on a daily basis. It's in like living skills, living with other people. It also helps with that.
I think capital T is a really phenomenal organization because they do so much. Like here we're sitting in one of capital T's safe houses for the trans community. But if housing is not what you need, there are support groups. We help folks build resumes, find gender affirming clothing. And I think capital T uniquely can touch a part in every person's transition, and every person's transition is a unique journey, but in my experience, capital T has been able to alleviate in a part of that journey, no matter what it is. If there's one thing that I could say about capital T, it is that capital T is small but mighty, a dedicated team who frankly doesn't see enough help or support from the greater community. Capital T is doing awesome, transformative things in the state of Florida. And I think capital T has courage that needs to be studied. I would say if you are a young queer person or a young person questioning your gender, and you find that you have little to no supports, and you are in the Florida area, contact capital T.
Without capital T, I wouldn't be able to save money, because before I was more worried about where I was gonna sleep, eat, and some other stuff, if you get what I'm saying. But I won't be able to save money or like just focus on myself really because of my situation. But all in all, capital T has really saved my life. I'd rather hear the truth than a lie. So, which mama gonna keep it real with you regardless it's gonna hurt your feelings or not, but she gonna keep it tea with you regardless. That's what I love about her. The program in general, I just love how it grew from where it was. Just a small little, you know, group to an actual, like, now it's like cities after cities. They hearing about us, like, that's a real impact for real compared to where it used to be to how it is now.
What has maybe been your favorite part about that journey from Capital T being a small group to, like you said, city to city and people knowing about y'all? Like, what maybe has been your favorite part of seeing that journey or being a part of that journey?
To be honest, words can't explain it. Just know, it's good things, but words can't explain how this program, it's more of actions than words. So it's like, I can't even really explain it, to be real.
No, I think that's beautiful too, how you said it's more action than word too. I think that is very nice.
Janelle put me in a space where I didn't think I could be, which was someone who could facilitate some kind of leadership. I've worked in other spaces and whatnot, but never in a way where I actually impact people's lives in the way that I have seen Janelle impact other people's lives. And not just Janelle, but even watching Jay thrive in doing all the outreach and just touching people in so many different ways. I never thought that I could do that. But, like, they speak so much life into me and, like, the capabilities that I have, things that I don't even see for myself. And I'm forever grateful for that.
Aging out of the foster care system, it has been very hard. You know, they don't, you know, they're supposed to help, but they don't really help like they need to. There's many things I do need, and majority of the time I do go to Janelle about it if I can't find anybody else to help me, because I'm one of those type of people, I don't really like asking other people for help. I want to try to figure it out by myself. But if I'm in desperate need and I really need help, I always come to Janelle about it, and she always makes sure that whatever I'm coming to her about, I get. I reached out to many other agencies, and like DCF and Guardian Ad Litem, and you know, those agencies that's been a part of my life for many years, before aging out of the foster care system, because I needed furniture in my apartment. It was making me very depressed, you know, waking up every day just having a few dishes and a few pots and pans. So I was reaching out and reaching out and reaching out. I've been here for maybe like 7 months now, and just now getting it together in here. The only agency that really did help was Capital T. That's the only people who came through to help. And you know, now it's cute in here. Now it feels like home. Now I can come sit in my living room and I can watch TV. I can cook a meal. You know, that really is a big thing. Like, nobody wants to sit in a place that's empty. That they can make somebody's, you know, mental health go downhill. So yeah.
I'm proud of you. Yeah.
Thank you. I thank you so much. I really couldn't have did it without you. I really couldn't have. Honestly, I don't think I could have. I was trying and trying and trying, but the bills, they were just eating me up, and I couldn't do anything.
Janelle has poured a lot into me, and it's given me a lot of confidence, and it's made me stronger. And I know that she has a relationship with God, and I can relate to her on that. And seeing her relationship with God really helps me. The things that she's gone through, that she and I had talked about before, it really helps me, you know, to like keep the faith and keep trying to get up every day and just fighting, just living, you know, because it's important that we stay vigilant and that we stay grounded and rooted and continue to fight for our rights and the right to live and just to exist and be who we are as a people.
There is no way, I really think there's no way that I would be alive if it's not for Janelle. It's no exaggeration when I say that Janelle and Capital T saved my life. I was in an extremely hostile and dangerous situation, young, had no idea what I was doing. And without Janel's vision and without Janel's action in making Capital T, forming the organization, and essentially putting money where her mouth is, I would be dead. I'm sure of it. Janel is the type of person who is extremely intentional. From the pillows on the couch to the people in the place, she is all about ensuring that the integrity of Capital T, its programs, and the safe houses are protected. And that has allowed me to heal from years of trauma that I've endured. And so I truly thank Janel and credit Janel for a majority of my growth, my career growth, and frankly, my sanity. I would not wake up with a smile if it was not for Janel. And through going through Capital T's Safe House program, I was able to, one, get off of the streets, two, focus on finding equity through employment and feeling valid as a person. And I just want to really thank Capital T for the Tea House and all of the other programs that they offer the community, because it's truly transformed my life and it has enabled me to make sure that I never meet poverty again.